Right, ladies and gents, well, of course, that was a track off the brand new Spirit on a Mission album. And I'll tell you what, folks, it is a real pleasure to be joined on the line by the man himself, Mr. Michael Schenker. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Hello.
Well, it's got to be said, Michael, what a fantastic album once again. You seem to be churning these albums out and the quality just seems to be getting better and better.
Yeah, it seems to be, this is my time, my three stages of life as I see it if I look back, like the first stage is the musical development as a guitarist and the musical contribution to the world created in the 70s for the 80s, and middle part of my life was more about school of life, learning and getting things out of my system, like, instrumentals, experiments with music and stuff like that I couldn't have done with a commercial touring band. And now it's to be able to share and enjoy and celebrate, everything that has been learned and accomplished and go out there and especially, that particular, that my generation of rock that started with Zeppelin and Deep Purple and Black Sabbath, many people are already passing away. Soon it's just going to be a memory. And so I want to put this to the foreground and highlight and celebrate this amazing era and keep writing great stuff and put it out there.
So you find now that you've obviously got an awful lot more freedom in what you can and cannot record and release.
Yeah, that is the whole focus was always on enjoying, the pure joy of play and discover and not having to do things and not needing to compete with the trend, but to do focus on pure self-expression. And so therefore there are no rules. You can do anything because it's expression. You don't score, you don't compete. It is just, if you're lucky, people enjoy what you're doing. But the payoff is the immediate fun habit that I have with the guitar and play and discover, and always come up with something new that I can enjoy. And so, it's maybe not necessarily an instant gratification, but in the long run it pays off. That if you enjoy the moment with what you're doing and everything that happens around it is just a byproduct, as when I was 16 years old, I never asked myself, how am I going to earn money? I just played guitar and enjoyed it, and everything else just happened by itself around it. So that freedom, in search of peace of mind is a song I wrote. My very first song I wrote for the Scorpions, and Klaus Meine gave it the title In Search of Peace of Mind, and so it's kind of perfect, suitable for my whole life.
Well, it's got to be said, when you look at the gentlemen that you have playing on this album with you, what a history you've got with these guys. And Doogie White, the guy can do no wrong in my book when it comes to vocal performance, and he does a fabulous job on this album. And of course, Herman and Francis, the underpinning that they put to this album, it's to be expected, the professionals that they are, but it is a fantastic release.
Yeah, Doogie he did exceptional on this album. And he did great with Bridge the Gap, but
yes.
On this one he even came out with, really, really good lines and strong and powerful vocals and with Wayne's composition and his seven string added to the whole thing,
of course,
gives it a nice, combining old with new and stuff like that. So it's a really unique mixture.
Once again, having Michael Voss obviously doing the production on this album, I say, to my mind, Michael can do no wrong. There are so many albums still now which have, shall we say, poor production. Luckily, this one, the production is absolutely fantastic. Michael's done such a good job.
Yeah, like Michael knows what he's doing. He's been doing it long enough. He is a great musician. He's a singer. He has ears that he is very, very good at picking up what I want to do, and he has great additional ideas. So we have been working together for a while now, and it seems to work.
I was going to say, that's always something which is going to be hit or miss in how an artist and a producer work together. Obviously, you two do work together so well. I mean, how much input did Michael have into the finished product?
Well, it's like this. I know what I want, and I have a very, very clear picture, and especially with Bridge the Gap and with Spirit and the Mission. So, when I come into the studio, I basically I put down the song arrangements and all the things that I think of that I want to add here and there, and he picks up immediately, and then sometimes he adds a little twist to it, and that always will add to the whole thing, and so it just keeps continuing like this. Whenever I come up with something, he also has an additional thing to it, so it makes it always every time, like twice as strong, because he adds another element, and so it's a combined kind of a thing, that happens because of his ability also as a musician, to pick up immediately from understanding where I'm coming from.
Obviously, one thing I must pick up on is, of course, what happened during the recording of this album was the fact that a lot of the original recordings and guitars were actually stolen.
Yeah, that was a slap in the face. It was kind of 4 guitars, got stolen, and music, and like, fortunately, it was not compositions, but it was just performance,
right?
But that's bad enough, But I decided to look at it as a pre-production period, so, because you never, if it got stolen, who said we would have never gotten back to those parts and what do you call it, fine-tune them and stuff like that. So, when you do pre-production, sometimes you keep pre-production parts, and often you end up with something different. And so I just look at it as a pre-production. We had to zoom into it. We had to, we had to put down some stuff, but those moments were gone when that was gone. But so is also a pre-production is also gone once you don't, if you do pre-production, if you're just sitting in a studio and you play something great and it wasn't recorded, that's also gone. The fact is, you have to come up with good stuff, when you express, that is the moment, you express something in the moment, and that's what makes it, if it got stolen, maybe it was never to show up, so we got back up, and we worked twice as hard, and we got it better.
Obviously, going forward, I would probably guess by the amount of work that you guys have put in the last 2 or 3 years, because, I mean, the fact you're releasing basically an album a year, are you already looking at writing songs for the next release?
I already know what to do for the next album.
Oh, right, okay.
And, I already have an idea how to spice it up and how to not become stagnant and how to, go to another level. And so various different ideas, and that's what I'm, going to look at when it's time.
How do you feel obviously we know only too well what the music industry is like at the moment, but the whole rock scene at the moment is seems to be fairly sort of buoyant. What's your take on the music scene at the moment?
To be honest, I have never ever really kept track on music scene because my focus is pure self-expression, and
right.
I got inspired by Zeppelin, Deep Purple, Black Sabbath. I started playing when I was 9. Then I haven't heard any of that music yet. But there was the Beatles and the Stones. But when I was 14, 15, by that time I already played 5 years. But when I heard Zeppelin and Black Sabbath and Deep Purple, then I went like, hey, now I know what's going on here. And that was it, And then I decided to stop listening to music, not copy anybody anymore, and I focused on, to do it the way I see it. And, and I've been doing it ever since. And so that's pure self-expression was my focus, and play and discover on a regular basis, coming up with new elements, coming to the foreground and use them and sprinkle them over the next album, etc., etc. And that's how, and right from within, from within, infinite spring. There's always another way and another. When you look in the ocean and you see all these tropical fish, I mean, every fish that comes by, it looks different, and another design, and another design. It never finishes. and that's a bit like that. So when you're stuck with a trend, you know, you're limited and you're under pressure. If you just freely create, there is endless possibilities.
One last question, if I can, please, Michael, is the fact that on the deluxe edition of Spirit on a Mission, you've got Mr. Don Dokken on vocals. How did that come about?
Because we bump into each other all the time, you know, when we play festivals and stuff, and he always said, hey, Michael, we need to do something together. And then one morning I had an idea. I said, look, I have done a lot of acoustic stuff. I can send you something, and then you come up with something, you know, sing something to it, write some lyrics, and see how it develops, and if it's something that we want to do. And so he did, and so he worked on 5 songs, and so one of them we decided just because people knew about that we were doing something together, and that was just like a little taste of what it could sound like if we would work together. And it was like a little acoustic piece. And so, you know, but I'm doing Temple of Rock at this point in time, and that's where the focus is. And I've created a lot of rooms in the past, a lot of family, you know, with all these different types of involvements. And so I'm still young, and I'm gonna play a few more years, and anything is possible. When things pop up, you know, then we look at it and see if that is something that we want to do. But at this point in time, we are focusing on Temple of Rock. Michael Schenker is the platform that we are using. That's how we started it off, and you know, playing lots of classics and the most popular of my involvement. But now we have done 2 Temple of Rock albums, or 3. Actually 2 with this lineup, and so after the 3rd one, I see that Temple of Rock is ready to stand on its own feet, and really we will have enough really good songs that can stand on its own, and you know, and play much less maybe of the classics, but you know, it must play, you know, Rock Bottom maybe, Rock Like a Hurricane, Dr. Raptor, but you know, we can establish a real good, strong set with this band after the 3rd album, I would say. So it's going to be a gradual, you know, slow move, you know, a little bit of more new material, a little bit of more, but not too much, not because, you know, you can't just go very, very abrupt, you know, from one thing to another. You just have to, people have to digest and grow with it, and so that's what I do.
Well, Michael, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. It's a real treat to finally get to chat to you. I say, huge fan of not only your early stuff, but it's got to be said, the Temple Rock stuff I absolutely love. Really enjoying this latest release, and to be honest, I can't wait to hear what else you come up with in the future.
Great, thank you so much.
Thanks very much indeed. Bye-bye now.
Thank you, bye-bye.